So this is Mike Morales, and I bought it a few years ago, and you can see it's plumb wore out. And I bought it, and the first time I used it, I put it on a horse that was aged to pack a bridle, but he damn sure wasn't broke enough to pack a bridle. And I just put it on him and rode off, and he kind of went riding around. And I was with Casey Carson, and I said, "Man, look at this bridle. Look how wore out it is." I said, "This was somebody's favorite bridle."
Yeah.
And Casey said, "Or maybe it was his only one." And I thought, yeah, maybe it was his only one. And that, like, you put it on any one of them, it'll work. It'll work on anything. And I think Casey was more right than I was. It maybe was a guy's favorite bridle, but I think Casey was right. I think it was probably his only bridle. And you know, especially from the era and everything. Shoot, this fiddle date, 1930 or something like that. That's just something like we were just talking about. If they got a bridle mouth, put a bridle in.
That's right.
Ball.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't matter if they're not broke enough for it. They'll find it. They'll figure it out.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And I'll bet you this bit has been in. God only knows how many 6-year-olds that had 10 rides in a Hackmore.
Yep.
Then somebody slapped this bridle in his mouth and went to work. Not with me, but with somebody. And I think everybody they spend too much time with that snaffle bit, too much time trying to make everything perfect in the Hackmore. Yeah, if you want to make a show horse, you need to do it. But you go to the snaffle bit maturity, you're going to try to beat Zane Davis. Hell yeah! Spend all that time in that snaffle bit. Spend all that time in that Hackmore. If you want to just have a nice horse and just ride around and just have your horse be happy, if he's got a bridle mouth, put a bridle in him.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about that is those working guys. I wasn't there, you wasn't there, but we have a connection to the past. We talked to, when I was 20, talking to 80, 90-year-old men, and then that's that connection to the past, because then when they were a kid, they talked to 80, 90-year-old men. Yeah. And so from what I gather, it's not like a working guy had a lot of bridles anyway. So that's very true, to just have one. And I still don't have a lot, but that's a good way to have just one sort of that, can maybe fit the average. And maybe one time it doesn't, but you're getting a lot of experience just using that one bridle. You get to knowing it and all that. Yeah. And so I think that's
well. And on that same conversation there, Ernie Marsh said it, and I think Ernie said it as good as anybody ever could. Pick one that you like. Yeah. Pick one that looks cool. If you like the way it looks, buy it, and your horse will figure out how to use it.
Right.
And that's true. You can have just one. When I started out in this world, I had one snaffle bit, one Hackmore, and one half-breed bridle. And I kind of think, looking at this, I really think I was better off, because I'd just make it work. I would just figure out how to use it, and my horses would figure out how to use it.
That's my story, for sure. And then having 4 or 5 kids, and 4 or 5 right now. There's one somewhere in Ohio, I don't know. No, I just couldn't afford it, Right. And so I just had to make do, and then the other thing, not making fun of anybody or but there's a lot of people, they can afford it, and so they got all kinds of bridles on the wall. But my advice to them when they talk to me, I said, you keep swapping out, and I said it's a good thing, you're learning a lot about bridles and the feel of them. I said, but pick one on the average that you like, that you think that fits the horses you're riding,
and use it,
and then just use it.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to get a lot of experience with it.
And then if that horse kind of dulls up in it, figure out how to undull him. Yeah. Just figure it out. You can't learn anything until till you mess one up so bad that you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you learn.
We both have experience with that.
That's where you really learn, is when you're trying to fix something that you've messed up. And if anybody's watching this, I'm using proper language here. But yeah, that's, find a bridle you like and use it. And you know, Cody's been here. He's used the same bridle on 2 horses. Never even been anywhere near a bridle like what he's using. And he just got him to work. He just got him to figure it out. Took a minute on this paint horse. I don't know, on that chocolate horse. I don't know how long it took, because I just dropped you off and left.
Yeah.
But it sounded like it took a minute, kind of figure it out. But those horses will figure them bridles out.
Yeah.
And we've been mounted 8,000 years. Everything that's ever been done's been done. Everything that you can think of has been done. What's still here is what worked. And so the patterns, these patterns of bridle. Good God, there's a wreck out there.
You'll be all right.
It'll be all right. These patterns of bridles that worked are what's still around, and so you can have faith in them. You can just pick one. It will work.
Right.
It will work. Those horses will figure it out. They will figure out how to ride around in it. And if they got a bridle mouth, that's my biggest deal is, you know, if he's 8 years old and he's stamp bit broke, I put a bridle in his mouth.
Yeah.
You know, piss on it. I just go with it. They got a bridle mouth, ride them in a bridle.
Yep.
And if they don't.
Right.
You know, if they're 4 years old, no, don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's easier on the horse. You know, I even tell these trail riders that, these trail riders, and that's not a derogatory thing, you know, and like, what the hell would they want to do with the tradition or whatever? Well, what it's going to do when they get them going in the bridle, one, they're going to have less inputs into that rein versus riding a snaffle or hackmore or tom thumb or whatever the hell they're riding in. But just inherently, you're going to put more inputs into that, you know, just as a human. Like, you got 2 reins there, and maybe they ride them with one hand, but it's just not the same as putting them in one of these traditional bits that don't articulate in 36 ways of Friday.
Right.
And they could just hold it simple. And everyone that I introduced, get them to introduce them to the bridle, they're like, wow, he never operated so nice, you know, but they're not doing nothing. And heck, they're just going down the trail.
Right. And
so I think even, you know.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you from any level.
Right.
And obviously at that super high level of performance horse where we're talking about like world's greatest horseman, obviously those horses are really, really, really broken the bridle.
Right.
But they're 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. But it'll affect it the same way if that horse is 8, 9, 10, 12 years old and he's a gymkhana horse or a trail horse or whatever.
Yeah.
It just works better. And I'm not saying a bad thing about Tom Thumb. I've got one around here somewhere. And once in a while I dig it out and use it. There's a time and place for it. They're all tools. I said, the tools that lasted are the ones that work. Well, a Tom Thumb is one of the ones that lasted. It does work. It's an effective tool. It's not a tool I like very good.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, use it when it's time. Use it, but when it's the time, use these, and pick one. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, because that paint horse, you know, he's riding around that bridle you've got, which is a damn nice bridle, but pick one. He'd ride in any one of these.
Right.
The exact same way, which isn't real great. He's not a really great horse. He will be, but any one of these and the one you've got will make him better every stride.
Right.
They will make that horse better. That Tom Thumb I've got, and he actually phased through that. He had about 2 rides in that Tom Thumb, and it helped where it could help, but it won't help him anymore. It's not going to make him any better. These will make him better. You know, and that bit of years that you got on him today, that's going to make him better. He's going to be a better horse after you're done riding him. And I don't mean this in. He's going to be a better horse today after you're done riding him. Yes, because you're riding him. But also, if you take Cody Deering completely out of it, he'll also be a better horse just for packing that bit.
Right, exactly.
That bit's gonna do so much.
That's educating them too.
Cody's gonna do a lot. Cody's gonna help him. Cody's gonna be part of his whole story. But that bit's gonna be just as much of it.
Right.
In my mind.
It's that combination. It's not one or the other. You know, because it's said, and I do believe that the bit and the angles and all that stuff we don't have time for in this video today. But there's so much influence that a bit has. The bit is asking, or another bit it's not asking at all. As soon as you put it in the mouth, some bits start to ask and some bits don't. And then that combination, along with who's riding them.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have, you know, get on this fantasy island thing and get this. Oh, this spade, everybody. You know, this has got so much. This is the way to go. But if you don't have the hands for it, then, you know, all that can just go in the trash. So,
yeah,
you know, so it's that combination is what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. It's a combination of both, and they get experience in both ways. Yeah.
And as you were saying that, I'm standing here and I'm listening to that horse figuring out how to use that roller. And like I said, this is maybe the third or fourth time he's had a real bridle in his mouth. And so he's just learning how to use that roller. That's not really the way I do things most of the time. Usually they spend a lot of time tied up with a bit in their mouth, and I give them an opportunity to use that roller and figure it out. You know, paints for pounding rocks. He doesn't get some of the opportunities other horses get.
Right.
So he's just figuring out. I'm listening to him, and I'm listening to you, and what you're saying, and
yeah,
it'll work.
It still works that way.
Cool. What I'm saying is, you know, there's this idea that the Miller and Lux days were something different than what they really were.
Yeah. And
you and I know that it's the same as it is now. You know,
right?
We know what it was, and there's this fantasy, and that's you brought that's what triggered me, as you said, you know, a fantasy. Yeah. There's this fantasy about bridle horses and bridle men and blah blah blah, you know. And in the Miller and Lux days, it wasn't like everybody was Ron Rawls,
right,
or something like that. You know, it was the same as it is now.
Some of them were just great bronc riders, but they couldn't bridle one very good. You know?
Right.
You just have to do you just have to figure it was the same as today because there's different skill sets, and some guys are good at starting colts, some aren't, and you know, all the combinations that we have today.
That is the same.
You just got it.
Yeah.
It couldn't be so much different. We're doing the same job, especially on these bigger outfits. We're doing that same kind of job. And then, of course, in the United States here, we've got different environments. You've got the Cracker Cowboys, Texas Cowboys, all that. But just as far as, generally speaking, it's...
Well, and even in that, when you talk about the different environments, I've cowboyed coast to coast and border to border, and it's the same in a sense. You know, they've got different... You know, the Cracker's got a different kind of tradition than we do. You know, up there around Canada, they've got some different things going on. In Sonora, they've got some different things going on. But it's the same thing where there's, out of 20 cowboys, you've got that one individual. Pablo Tapia, he's from Sonora. He can make a bridle horse. He can rope. He can ride a bronc. He can read a cow. And if a camera's on, he can't do anything because he's really, really shy. You know, but he could do that, and he does it in the snoring tradition. But shoot, you put him in, take him to Ellensburg, put a flat hat on him, and he'll do it just as good. You know, he's good at what he does. He's good at his job, and it's the same today as it was 100 years ago. There's guys that, you know, like, you're a really good bridle horse man, I'm a really good colt man. aspiring to be a bridle horse man.
Me too.
Well,
but I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean. I mean, you got to describe it some way.
Yeah,
so
but
like
you
what
know,
we hone in on, you know.
But there's
yeah.
other guys.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with guys that, and I'm thinking of one right now. He'd ride a bronc to breakfast. Like he just didn't care. He was 22 years old. He just didn't care.
Right.
This was only last year, and get along with one, get along with anything you cut him. He didn't care. He's probably not ever going to be. He's never going to manage anything. He'll never be cow boss.
Right.
He's never going to be anything anybody's real excited about. At some point, he's going to get to where physically he can't ride a bronc just so loosey goosey like he does, and that'll be the end of it. But then there's other guys that are gonna learn from it. They're gonna go, man, I don't want to ride broncs my whole life. I want to figure this out. I want to learn how cows move. I want to learn what cows think about. Right. I want to learn what horses think about. I want to learn how bridles work. And those are going to be the guys that excel. And it was the same way 100 years ago.
Yeah.
This idea, and some people, and most of them, it seems like most of them are in Oklahoma. There's a whole bunch of people in Oklahoma that have this idea that in the Miller and Lux days, everybody was a superstar.
Right.
They weren't.
Right.
There was a bunch of dumb shits then.
Yeah.
Just like there is now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sure how Chief describes it. Arnold Rojas, you know, he sure describes that well. It was just a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And he talks about, like, and I think about this. Rojas, once in a while he mentions, or the way he phrases it, he was a guy that if he couldn't ride, he'd starve to death. And what he means by that is that all he knew how to do was cowboy. And so if he couldn't cowboy, he'd starve to death. And he says it Chief says it in a real derogatory kind of a way. You know, when you read his books, obviously I never spoke to him, but when you read his books, he kind of says it in an underhanded way, like a guy that could only cowboy was kind of looked down on, at least from his point of view. And from my point of view, damn sure is. Like, this is what I do because this is what I choose to do. I could do a few other things, I think. I don't know. I've never tried. And I know you have done some other things, and I know you can. And that's where you get the spectrum of what's really going on, and that's how you get some decision making skills and so on and so forth.
Yeah, on the job experience and all that. Yeah.
I think our video and our conversation's running out. I think we need to go ride a colt.
I think so too.
All
We
right.
only got about 18 more, so we better get on it.
Peace out.